begged my parents for help with my medical bills, but they said they weren't made of money. A month later, they bought my brother a brand new car. So I stopped sending them money for their vacations. A year later, they called, "We need help booking our cruise." No shame, no hesitation. I told them exactly what they needed to hear. I never thought I'd be in a position where I had to beg my parents for help. I had always been independent. I worked hard, paid my own bills, and never asked them for anything. Even when I was younger, I was the responsible child. I got good grades, held down part-time jobs, and never caused trouble. My brother, Adam, was the opposite. Always needing help, always getting into some kind of financial mess, always relying on our parents to bail him out. And they always did. But I never resented it. Not really. I figured that was just how it was. Adam needed more, so they helped him more. I was doing fine on my own, so I didn't need it. Then I got sick. I don't want to go into details, but it was serious. Not immediately life-threatening, but if untreated, it could become dangerous. The treatment was extremely expensive and not covered by insurance. At first, I thought I could handle it alone. I had savings and I tried to stretch every dollar as far as I could. But the costs kept piling up. Medications, specialist visits, procedures. No matter how much I budgeted, I was drowning. I didn't want to ask for help. But I was out of options. So one evening I called my parents. Mom answered, cheerful as always. "Rachel, sweetheart. It's been a while since you called. How's work?" I swallowed, gripping my phone. "I actually wanted to talk to you about something important." "Oh." I took a breath. "I've been dealing with some medical stuff. The bills are a lot. I was wondering if you could help me out a little." Silence. Then a short laugh. "Rachel, honey, we're not made of money." I felt my stomach drop. "I know, I just..." "Sweetheart, you're an adult," she interrupted. "You're supposed to handle these things on your own." I gritted my teeth. "I have been. But this is different. This isn't some small expense, I'm struggling." Mom sighed, like this conversation was exhausting her. "Rachel, we worked hard to get where we are. We're not in a position to just throw money around." I opened my mouth, then closed it. I didn't know what to say. I had never asked them for money before. Not for college. Not for rent. Not for anything. And now, when I finally needed them, they were acting like I was being unreasonable. "Okay," I said stiffly. "I understand." She sounded relieved. "Good. I knew you'd be mature about this." I hung up before I could say something I'd regret. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation in my head. I wasn't asking for a handout. I wasn't being irresponsible. I was sick. I just needed a little help. But they had shut me down without a second thought. I told myself it was fine. That I'd figure it out on my own. And I did. I worked overtime. Cut back on everything I could. Took on freelance work on top of my regular job. It was exhausting. It was miserable. But I did it. And then a month later, I found out they had bought Adam a brand new car. Not a used car. Not a cheap car. A brand new, fully loaded SUV. I only found out because Adam bragged about it in the family group chat. "Adam, finally got my new ride. Mom and Dad hooked me up." I stared at my phone, my heart pounding. They weren't made of money. They couldn't afford to help me when I was sick. But they had thousands to drop on a brand new car for Adam? I couldn't stop myself. I called my mom immediately. She answered after a few rings, her voice light and unconcerned. "Rachel, what a surprise. Did you see your brother's new car?" I clenched my jaw. "Yeah, I saw." She didn't even hesitate before saying, "He really needed it. His old car was breaking down all the time. He couldn't be driving around in that piece of junk anymore." My hands were shaking. "So let me get this straight. You couldn't afford to help me with my medical bills, but you had enough money to buy Adam a new car." There was a pause. Then, in that condescending tone she always used when she thought I was being unreasonable, she said, "Rachel, it's not the same thing." I let out a short, humorless laugh. "How is it not the same?" "Because you're fine now," she said simply. "You handled it. You got through it. And Adam needed a reliable car." I felt something in me snap. I had spent months killing myself to pay off those bills. I had gone without, pushed myself to the brink of exhaustion, all because they told me they couldn't afford to help. And it had never been true. They just didn't care. I exhaled slowly. "You know what? I hope you enjoy your new family car. Because I'm done." She sighed dramatically. "Oh, Rachel, don't be like that. I mean it, I cut in. You clearly have money when it benefits you. But I'm not going to be a part of it anymore. She scoffed. What's that supposed to mean? I smiled coldly. It means you can pay for your own vacations from now on. Silence. Then an angry edge crept into her voice. Rachel, that's not fair. I hung up. For the first time in my life I was done. I had been sending them money for years without question. I thought I was helping them out, giving back because they had supported me growing up. But now I realized the truth. They never needed my money. They just expected it. I stopped sending them a dime. At first I didn't hear much from them. A few passive-aggressive texts. The occasional guilt trip. But I ignored it. Then a year later my phone buzzed with a call from my mom. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity got the better of me. I picked up. Hello. Rachel, hi, she said brightly like we were best friends. It's been so long. How are you? I narrowed my eyes. I'm fine. She laughed. Oh good. Listen, your dad and I are looking at cruises for next summer, and I wanted to see if you could help us book something nice. I almost dropped my phone. I felt my blood pressure spike as I clenched my jaw. They had no shame. No hesitation. They really thought I would just go back to funding their lifestyle like nothing had happened. I took a deep breath, my fingers tightening around my phone. They expected me to say yes. They expected me to fall back into my old role. But this time I had something to say. I had something to say. But for a few long stunned seconds I just sat there gripping my phone trying to process what I had just heard. They had spent a year ignoring me. A year acting like nothing had happened. A year of no apologies, no acknowledgement, no effort to fix what they had done. And now, out of nowhere, they were calling me, not to check on me, not to make things right, but to ask for money for a cruise. I let out a slow breath. My voice came out colder than I expected. Are you serious? Mom laughed like I had just said something funny. Well, of course, sweetheart. We need a little help picking the right one, and I know you're so good at this kind of thing. I clenched my jaw. So good at this kind of thing. She meant paying for things. Because that's what I had always done. For years I had given them money without question. Every time they had a vacation coming up I had helped. Because I thought that was just what good daughters did. But the second I had needed them, they weren't made of money. I exhaled sharply, my patience snapping. You have got to be kidding me. There was a short silence. Then Mom's voice sharpened. Excuse me. I sat up straighter. I begged you for help when I was sick. I was drowning in medical bills, and you told me you weren't made of money. I could hear the irritation in her voice. Rachel, that was a long time ago. A year, I corrected. A year ago, you told me you couldn't spare a dime to help me when I was struggling to afford treatment. But now you're calling me, expecting me to pay for your luxury cruise. She sighed dramatically. It's not like that. Oh really? I snapped. Then what is it like? Because from where I'm standing, it sure as hell seems like you just didn't care about me unless I was handing you money. Her voice hardened. We are your parents, Rachel. After everything we've done for you, you should want to help us. I let out a bitter laugh. Everything you've done for me? Yes, she snapped. We raised you. We gave you everything you needed growing up. And now, as adults, we take care of each other. That's how family works. I felt my stomach churn. We take care of each other. That would have been funny if it wasn't so insulting. They had never taken care of me. Not when it actually mattered. I had taken care of myself. And I had taken care of them. I sucked in a breath, my hands shaking. I stopped sending you money for a reason, Mom. She scoffed. Oh, we noticed. Good, I snapped. Because I meant it. You're not getting another dime from me. You made it clear who mattered when you bought Adam a brand new car while I was barely scraping by trying to afford medical care. And now you think I'm just going to pretend that never happened. Silence. Then her voice turned icy. I see how it is. I clenched my jaw, waiting. You've changed, Rachel, she said, her voice dripping with disgust. You used to be such a good daughter. I felt something in me snap. I stood up, pacing the room. No, Mom. I used to be a doormat. I used to be your personal ATM. And you got so used to taking from me that you didn't even think twice about leaving me to struggle when I needed you the most. I heard a sharp intake of breath. Then she hung up. I stared at my phone, my heart pounding. For a moment I just stood there, stunned. I had expected more fighting. More manipulation. I had braced myself for guilt trips, yelling endless texts. But she had just hung up. And somehow that was worse. Because I knew her. This wasn't over. And I was right. The next day the messages started. Mom, you're being ridiculous. I don't understand why you're acting like this. Dad, Rachel, I don't know what your problem is, but we're your parents. You owe us some respect. Mom, fine. If you're going to be selfish, I'll just tell Adam how cruel you're being. Maybe he'll remind you how family is supposed to act. I rolled my eyes. Right on cue. It didn't take long before he messaged me too. Adam, seriously, Rachel? Mom's crying. She said you're refusing to help them. I clenched my fist. Of course she was crying. Of course she had twisted the story. She hadn't told Adam the real reason I had cut them off. She had just painted herself as the victim. The poor, loving mother who couldn't understand why her selfish daughter had suddenly abandoned her. Me, did she also tell you that when I was sick and needed help they refused? That they said they weren't made of money, then turned around and bought you a brand new car? No response. Because of course she hadn't mentioned that part. I locked my phone and set it down, my stomach twisting. This was exactly why I had stopped talking to them. They had no shame. No remorse. No ability to acknowledge what they had done. They didn't care about me. They only cared about what I could do for them. And I had finally stopped playing their game. For the next few days I ignored their messages. I thought maybe, just maybe, they would give up. But instead they escalated. The calls doubled. The texts kept coming. Then they started calling other people. Aunt Susan, Rachel, I don't know what's going on, but your mom called me in tears. She says you won't even speak to her. What's happening? Uncle Steve, your parents are struggling, Rachel. Is this really how you want to treat them? Grandma, sweetheart, I know they're not perfect, but they're still your parents. They love you. I wanted to scream. I knew my parents were spinning some dramatic version of events where I was the cruel, ungrateful daughter refusing to take care of my poor, helpless parents. I considered ignoring them. But then I realized they weren't going to stop unless I made them. So I sent one final message to the entire family group chat. Me, since Mom and Dad are telling everyone their version of events, let me set the record straight. I begged them for help when I was struggling to afford medical treatment. They told me they weren't made of money, then bought Adam a brand new car. Now, after ignoring me for a year, they expect me to pay for their cruise. I said no. If you think that makes me selfish, go ahead and block me. I hit send. Then I turned off my phone. Let them sit with that. I was done playing their games. I turned off my phone and exhaled, expecting, hoping, that would be the end of it. But people like my parents don't just accept things. They push. They escalate. They refuse to let go of control. And sure enough, the next morning my phone was blowing up. I scrolled through my messages, barely suppressing an eye roll. Mom, Rachel, how dare you embarrass us like that? Dad, you just made a fool of your own family to everyone. I hope you're proud of yourself. Adam, what is wrong with you? You know how much stress you've put them through. Then more relatives joined in. Aunt Susan, I don't know what happened between you and your parents, but airing dirty laundry in the family chat wasn't necessary. Uncle Joe, family isn't perfect, but you don't cut them off over something as small as money. Grandma, sweetheart, I raised your mother better than this. I'm sure it's a misunderstanding. Just talk to her. I let out a slow, measured breath. A misunderstanding. That's what they always called it when my parents did something awful. A misunderstanding. A little mistake. They hadn't made a mistake. They had made a choice. They had chosen to let me struggle while handing everything to Adam. They had chosen to ignore me for a year until they needed something. They had chosen to paint me as the villain when I finally stood up for myself. And I wasn't going to undo everything just because a few relatives didn't like hearing the truth. So I ignored them. I went to work. I focused on myself. I moved on. Or at least I tried to. Because the next day my mom showed up at my apartment. I was coming back from work when I saw her standing outside the building, arms crossed, expression tight. I stopped in my tracks. My heart pounded. For a second I thought about just turning around and walking away. But I knew her. If I didn't deal with this now, she would just keep coming back. So I squared my shoulders, walked past her without a word, and unlocked the door. She followed. Rachel. I didn't turn around. You shouldn't be here. Oh, don't be so dramatic, she scoffed, stepping inside the building lobby after me. We need to talk. I sighed, turning to face her. No, we don't. Yes, we do, she insisted, her tone sharp. You humiliated us in front of the entire family. I deserve an explanation. I let out a humorless laugh. Oh, you deserve an explanation? She nodded. Yes. I folded my arms. I already explained it. You just didn't like what I had to say. Her jaw tightened. I don't understand why you're acting like this. You've always helped us. That was the problem. I had always helped them. And they had never once helped me. I took a slow breath. You showed me where I stand a long time ago, Mom. I was sick. I was struggling. You told me you couldn't afford to help, then bought Adam a brand new car. Her face hardened. He needed it. I clenched my fist. And I didn't need life-saving treatment? Her lips parted slightly as if she had never actually considered that before. Then her expression shifted. Her posture changed. And I knew what was coming next. The guilt trip. The real reason she was here. I don't have anywhere else to go, she said, voice softer now, like I was supposed to feel bad for her. Your father and I are struggling, Rachel. I stared at her. That's not my problem. She blinked. What? I repeated slowly so she couldn't pretend she didn't hear me. That's not my problem. She scoffed. Rachel, I am your mother. And you were supposed to be mine, I snapped. But when I needed you, you turned your back on me. She was losing control of the conversation and she knew it. Her voice turned cold. So that's it? You're just abandoning your own parents. I met her gaze without flinching. No, Mom. I'm treating you the exact way you treated me. Her nostrils flared. You're going to regret this. No, I said, calm, certain, final. I won't. Then I turned around and walked away. She stood there for a few seconds, probably expecting me to turn back to change my mind. I didn't. I went inside my apartment. And when I heard her knock again a minute later, I pulled out my phone and called security. Hi, I have someone trespassing outside my apartment. I need them removed. A few minutes later, she was gone. For the first time in my life, I had shut her down completely. But I knew she wasn't done. Because when people like her lose control, they don't stop. They double down. And I had a feeling she was about to take things even further. I was hoping calling security on her would be the end of it. It wasn't. The next day, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Blocked numbers. Unknown numbers. Numbers I didn't recognize but had a very good idea who they belonged to. I ignored them all. Then the messages started. Mom, I can't believe you did that to me. I'm your mother. Dad, you are a disgrace. We raised you better than this. Adam, wow. You're actually insane. Mom was crying all night because of you. Mom, fine. You don't want to help me? Just say that. But don't come crawling back when you need something. Mom, you will regret this, Rachel. I stared at my phone, exhausted. I had blocked her. I had cut them off. I had told them no more times than I could count. But she wasn't letting it go. She still believed she had control over me. I put my phone on silent and went about my day pretending not to care. But deep down I knew this wasn't over. And I was right. Because the next day she showed up at my work. I was in the middle of my shift when my manager walked up, looking uncomfortable. Hey Rachel, she said carefully. There's a woman at the front asking for you. She says she's your mom. I closed my eyes. Took a slow breath. Of course. She's not here to see me, I said flatly. She's here to make a scene. My manager nodded. Want me to handle it? Please. I stayed in the back, heart pounding as my manager went to deal with her. I could hear muffled voices from the front, my mother putting on her best heartbroken act. I just don't understand why she's doing this, she was saying loud enough for everyone to hear. I raised her and this is how she treats me. I clenched my fist. He was playing the victim. A few minutes later, my manager returned, shaking her head. She left. I exhaled in relief. Thank you. He gave me a look. You okay? I forced a tight smile. Yeah. I'm just tired of this. She nodded, understanding. Let me know if she comes back. We'll have her banned from the property if we need to. That night, I got another message. Mom, I don't know why you're treating me like this. I'm your mother. I deserve better. I didn't reply. The next morning my phone rang. It was my landlord. Rachel, he said carefully. Your mother just called me. I felt my stomach drop. What? She was asking about your lease, he said. She claimed she needed to know your renewal date because she's concerned about your financial stability. I let out a sharp breath. I assume you didn't tell her anything? Of course not, he said. I just thought you should know. I clenched my jaw. If she calls again, tell her nothing. And if she shows up here, call the police. Understood. I hung up, my hands shaking with rage. He was trying to dig for information. Trying to find a way back into my life. And I was done. I pulled up her contact, unblocked her, and sent one final message. Me, don't ever call my landlord again. Don't ever show up at my job again. If you try to interfere in my life one more time, I will file for a restraining order. Do you understand me? I watched as the message went through. Then I blocked her again. A few minutes later, Adam called. I picked up, furious. If you're about to defend her, don't bother. He scoffed. She's your mom, Rachel. She's harassing me. He sighed. She's desperate. She just wants to fix things. I let out a bitter laugh. No, Adam. She just wants to keep using me. You're being dramatic. Oh, really? I snapped. Because I don't remember her being desperate to fix things when I was sick and begging for help. I don't remember her calling every day when I was struggling to afford treatment. But now that I cut her off, suddenly she wants to fix things. He was silent. She doesn't miss me, I said coldly. She misses my money. More silence. Then he muttered, you're making a mistake. No, I said. I'm finally doing the right thing. I hung up. And this time I didn't feel guilty. Let me know your thoughts about this story in the comments.